Brandon, you mentioned this the other day, and I forgot to ask you about it. You hosted, or at least you played in some pickup basketball with some media members in Oklahoma City as part of the finals, right?
Yes, a few times now. I've gotten to the opportunity to play some pickup hoops with some national media luminaries, and I think it's probably safe to say some names because I've heard them mention our epic hoop runs on other pods. So yeah, shout out to all the guys from ESPN, and I think Tim and I are the oldest dudes at these pickup runs, but we're holding it down for old school hoop.
And I guess my question is, now where do you rank on the size, among some of the other media members?
Height-wise, let's just say, John, that it's a good thing I can shoot, or I probably, wouldn't be getting much run in the pickup runs. But yeah, height-wise, I'm probably I don't think I'm last, but there might be like a 4-way tie for shortest that I'm in the running with.
And maybe my next question, and this is
shout out Derek Parker. Actually, Derek Parker. And he's cool with this because we've talked about it. I'm 1 inch taller than Derek Parker, so I know at least I'm not last.
Well, this is an opportunity to blow some smoke up your skirt there, but how long did it take for the media members to identify that someone has to guard you out beyond the 3-point line?
I appreciate that, John. I will say, probably halfway through the first game, they started saying that I got the shooter yell, which always feels good. Like all the shooters out there, when it comes to pickup hoops, like that feeling when the other team recognizes, like, oh, you got to guard him out there. That's always a nice feeling, and that happened probably halfway through our first pickup run.
And that's how all the national media members now know who Brandon Rahbar is. Maybe they already knew who you were, but now it's seared into their memory. Someone has to guard you out beyond the 3-point line.
All those nights shooting on my netless rim in like country Oklahoma on a telephone pole, paying off all these years later because that's how I'm making my name in the NBA media.
Welcome back to the Daily Thunder podcast. I'm John Napier, publisher of Daily Thunder, and I'll be your host today. Alongside me is Daily Thunder beat writer Brandon Rahbar. Brandon, how are you on this day where the Thunder need to win just one more game to capture a championship?
Yeah, I'm doing well. Thunder fans are doing well. This Thunder team is doing well. Like, go back, John, to Game 4, like the third quarter, Game 4, and that feeling that like all of Thunder Nation had when it felt like the series was slipping away. And now fast forward just 5 quarters later, and the Thunder are one win away from bringing home a championship to Oklahoma City. It's exciting times.
Yeah, those same feelings, though, went through at least my mind in Game 4 against the Nuggets, because it didn't look like the Thunder might make it out of the second round.
Yeah, exactly. Like, go all the way back then even. You're right. To think that there was worry that this Thunder team could have gone out in the second round and had the same result as last year when they lost in the second round to the Mavs. And now they're up 3-2 in the NBA Finals with a chance to close out in Indy. And then, a possible Game 7 in Oklahoma City. It's wild to think, like, what happens if Lou Dort doesn't hit 3 straight threes in that Game 5 in Oklahoma City? Or if the team doesn't just all go super clutch in Game 4 in Denver. This team is just passed test after test after test. And even last night, I thought, and I know that we'll start to analyze the game, but just real quick, when that game got to 2 points, I think, that fear started coming over Thunder fans, like, okay, this is Game 1 all over again. And if the Pacers win last night, they go back to Indy with a chance to close it out, and they're up 3-2, and then there's so much pressure on the Thunder to win 2 straight games. So just a world of difference, to see this team in situations that seem dire in game respond the way they've responded have been so impressive.
Yeah, and we recorded just a couple of days ago, but it seemed like an opportunity to talk again because the Thunder are on the verge of the first title for the franchise. They won that pivotal Game 5 at home, and there were so many storylines and narratives from Game 5 that we can talk about. And maybe we'll just start with Jalen Williams and his 40-point performance. A lot of words can be said about that, but Shai was great in this game, but Jalen Williams might have been was the difference maker in this one.
100%. JDub has taken a leap like mid-playoffs. This guy was already an all-star this year, all-NBA, second-team all-defense, so the accolades keep coming, but he's somehow gotten better in these playoffs. And it's so funny to think back again, like going back, the question marks coming into the playoffs were like, okay, Shai's going to bring 30 every night. The defense is going to be there, but can the Thunder rely on a second scorer? Can JDub step up and be that second guy that they can rely on? And man, he has answered that in a huge way. It honestly feels like we're seeing like the transformation into a star, like before our very eyes with JDub.
Yeah, and we can even go back to Game 4 where, again, and I think in an effort to conserve Shai and take some of the pressure off of him, JDub operated as the primary ball handler. He was initiating the offense even when Shai was on the court at big portions of Game 4. But again in Game 5, when the Thunder needed a bucket, when they needed a play, they kept going to JDub, and he kept answering the call to the tune of 40 points on 14 to 25 shooting. I know that should the Thunder win the championship, odds are SGA is going to win Finals MVP. But is JDub making a run at it?
So I think that in most finals series, when you look at JDub's numbers and you look at the context in which he's helped this team win games, he would 100% be a deserving winner of finals MVP. Like if you compare it last year to Jalen Brown winning finals MVP, and it's kind of like a mirror, scenario where you have Tatum, who's like, the best player and, the MVP candidate, but Jalen Brown is one that wins finals MVP, has a great finals. I think that JDub is having, arguably a better finals than Jalen Brown last year, but SGA is also averaging like 33 points a game in these finals and like a ton of steals and blocks, like a ton, high assists, high rebounds, and he's still being incredibly efficient. And when you look at the context, the most important game, I shouldn't say most important game because every game has been the most important game, obviously, like the deeper that you go. But that Game 4, like Shai's run to end Game 4, basically kind of single-handedly scoring and winning that game. I think the context of that was so big. It's got to be SGA. His numbers are still like ridiculous, and he's still the number one option. Like they're still scheming. They're doing everything they can to slow down Shai. So JDub is certainly a worthy NBA Finals MVP winner, but it's still got to be Shai, unless something changes over the next game or two.
Well, hopefully it's just the one game, but yeah, and I agree with that, right? SGA's performance has been consistent throughout the finals, and he has been scoring out of his mind just as he did during the regular season. He had 38 in Game 1, 34 Game 2, 24 Game 3, 35 Game 4, and now 31 in Game 5. So it's unlikely we're going to have a moment like in the Eastern Conference Finals where they announced that Siakam was the Eastern Conference MVP, but before it was announced, Halliburton kind of took a step forward, like his name was about to get announced there or something. I don't know if you caught that.
Yeah, yeah, I did catch that. And it is kind of funny. Like, I mean, really, Siakam, you could argue, has been the Pacers' best player in this series. So we kind of have this kind of running theme of second stars, performing really, really well in these conference finals and in the finals. But I still think that, SGA still has kind of been on another level. But JDub, man, you just cannot say enough about JDub. And to have a 40-point game at 24 years old in the NBA Finals, like this is rare air. He's now one of only 9 players in NBA history, age 24 or younger, to score 40 points in an NBA Finals game.
Yeah. quite an accomplishment for JDub. And again, he's just in his third year, which is pretty incredible to think about the future that he has. Now that you mentioned Siakam maybe being the best player for the Pacers, let's talk about the Pacers and Halliburton and his really rough night. But before we talk about Halliburton, it probably was two players on the Pacers not named Halliburton that kept them in this game, and that was Siakam had 28 points, but TJ McConnell, who had 18 points off of the bench. Tell me about your experience watching TJ McConnell go off in that third quarter where the Pacers were able to narrow the gap.
It was just bucket after bucket. Like, it was TJ McConnell, and you know, he had that huge game 3 in Indiana, as well as him and Mathurin both went off. But it was almost kind of surreal to see the Thunder so close to taking the series lead in an NBA Finals, and you just can't help but have in the back of your mind the thought of, like, are the Thunder going to lose the NBA Finals because of TJ McConnell? Like, him going on that run and being the biggest reason why the Pacers were able to get it to within 2 in a game in Oklahoma City that was really, let's be honest, a must-win for the Thunder, because you cannot lose that game and go back to Indy down 3-2. So they have to win this game, you know, to win the NBA championship, you feel like. And TJ McConnell was just bucket after bucket after bucket, just getting whatever he wanted. It was just kind of a surreal feeling to see it happen. But credit to McConnell, and credit to the Pacers, really, for continuing to fight, being down so big, hostile environment. Loud City was the loudest it's ever been last night, I feel. And the Pacers, as they've done all playoffs long, they just keep fighting and got it within 2 points. So credit to them.
And McConnell, so Carlisle took him out at the end of the third, and I don't think he checked back in until there was like 4 minutes left to go in the fourth quarter. With his energy and the way that he was scoring and creating issues for the Thunder, do you think Carlisle waited way too long to bring McConnell back in the game? I
was shocked. I couldn't believe. I thought for sure he was going to bring him back in. I think every Thunder fan was like, yes, keep McConnell on the bench. You know, and Tyrese Halliburton, Lou Dort did such a great job on Halliburton. But obviously, you're going to ride with your superstars. I get it. I don't know if Halliburton, like, you know, his calf tightness, I don't know how much that was affecting him. Obviously, the Thunder defense was affecting him. 0 made field goals for Halliburton, first time in his playoff career. But so I understand you want to ride with your superstars, but the way McConnell was playing, I just don't know how you sit him for that long, especially when they got it to within 2 and then Thunder go on that run. I was surprised but happy for the Thunder that Carlisle kept him seated on the bench.
Well, let's now talk about Halliburton, because that may be part of the narrative or the excuses that, you know, the Pacers fans or others might give for this loss, because again, the Pacers were in this game despite that performance from Halliburton, who had just 4 points. He was 0 of 6 from the field, 0 of 4 from 3. He did have 7 rebounds and 6 assists, but he was hobbled by that calf injury. And but how much credit is deserving of the Thunder for shutting him down? Because in game 3, Halliburton had his best game. He had 22 points. He shot 53% from the field and 4 of 8 from 3. He had 11 assists, 9 rebounds. He almost had a triple-double. But since that point, he is 1 of 11 from 3, and he is 7 of 21 shooting the ball. Is it the Thunder, or is it his injury?
I think it's the Thunder. I mean, if you watch that game, the way that Lou Dort defends him, then, of course, if for some reason Lou Dort gets screened off of him, they do such a great job of slowing down Tyrese Halliburton and just affecting his game, getting him off of his game, taking away the things that he wants to do. So, I don't know how much the calf tightness was affecting him, so I can't speak on that. But he was out there playing, and he was out there, you know, in the game. So all I can judge on is what it looked like on the court, and what it looked like on the court was that Lou Dort was just smothering Tyrese Halliburton and not letting him play his game. So I would give a lot of credit to the Thunder defense.
Yeah, and Lou Dort has stepped it up. I mean, he has been smothering on Halliburton. He's put him full in the torture chamber. But something else I want to say about the Thunder defense, and I think this goes not just for the way they defended Halliburton, but across the board, is just how good the Thunder are at either A, fighting over screens, or if not, the switches. Every single one of those switches is seamless. The communication on the defensive side of the ball for the Thunder is so good that no one ever gets lost on defense. They never get lost on a screen. And for a team that is trying to create that space and get their playmakers with the right matchups, that's been pivotal for the Thunder to shut down the Pacers offense.
Yeah, we heard Anthony Edwards and Mike Conley talk about this Thunder defense in a post game after the Thunder beat the Wolves. How this team is just defensively, they're puppets on a string. And if you watch it, it is incredibly impressive to see 5 defenders, and it doesn't matter which 5 defenders are out there on the court. Like, just take your pick of 5 Thunder rotation players. The way that they move, the way that they rotate, the way that they close out, it is incredibly impressive. Like, obviously the Thunder have great defensive talent, just the personnel on the roster, from Lou Dort to Chet to Caruso to Cason Wallace to JDub to Shea. All these guys are great defenders, but the reason why they're special, the reason why they're elite, the reason why they're historic is not only are they talented, but the team IQ, the team chemistry, and how they all truly are puppets on a string and rotate and move so well is what takes them from being just a talented crew to like this historic crew. It is fun to watch defense when defense looks like this.
Yeah, and the defense last night was really on point. They forced 22 turnovers by the Indiana Pacers and incredibly had 12 blocks, 4 of which were by Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. What a performance by Shai. In addition to the 31 points and 10 assists, he also had those 4 absolutely critical blocks. And then on top of that, he had 2 steals. Tell me about Shai's performance.
Yeah, it's so funny that the league MVP can end up with 31 points, 10 assists, 4 blocks, 2 steals as a point guard. And that's kind of like a... It's kind of like a secondary note because JDub had 40 points, but Shai was incredible. Those blocks that he had were loud, by the way, and I know that his shooting efficiency isn't what it normally is, but he still had an efficient night when you look at like the free throws and all those things with the 31 that he had. Here's the deal: when it mattered, when the Pacers got it down to 2 and the Thunder went on that run and put the game away, Shai made big play after big play, and what was crazy is a lot of them were on defense. A couple of blocks, a couple of steals. That run was really fueled by defense and turnovers turning into offense, and Shai was a big part of that. So it wasn't like Game 4 where he hit that 3 and he hit that baseline jumper and he scored 15 points in the last 5 minutes. But this time he made clutch play after clutch play when it was most important. And this time it was on the defensive end, which I think is just a credit to the fact that he is a superstar that plays 2 ways, which is, a rare thing in today's NBA.
And I think this game overall, this was the most Thunder-like game we've seen from the team in the finals. Because in Game 1, they were forcing all those turnovers and those steals, but they weren't able to get out in transition. They weren't scoring the points off of turnovers the way they typically do. Tonight they were. So they didn't shoot the ball as well as the Pacers overall. They shot 42.6% from the field, and so the Pacers actually shot 45%. They did shoot really well from 3, the Thunder did. But it was the steals, the turnovers, and scoring points off of those turnovers, because the Thunder had 32 points off of turnovers to just 9 for the Pacers, 23 turnovers forced, just 11 committed by the Thunder, and the Thunder outscored the Pacers in the fast break 17-13, despite the Pacers playing one of the fastest paces in the league. Do you agree this was the most Thunder-like game in the finals so far?
100%. The formula that the Thunder have had all season to their success has been Shai gets you 31, he got 31. JDub is the secondary scorer, puts up big points, did that and more, obviously. And the Thunder defense, at some point in the game, will go on a run like this Thunder avalanche that's just turnover after turnover after turnover, which leads to transition points, and they just bury an opponent with one of these runs, and that's exactly what happened. And then, typically one or two other guys go off from the bench, and we saw that with Cason Wallace and with Aaron Wiggins. Both of them really, really big threes from both of those guys last night. After, in Indiana, they combined for 0 3-pointers, and then last night they combined for 7 3-pointers. So they were big as well. So it was the exact formula that we've seen all season long from the Thunder. So yeah, 100%, this was the most Thunder-like performance in the NBA Finals.
Yeah, the bench is something I did want to mention in particular. Of course, Caruso was really good defensively, struggled shooting the ball. He was just 1 of 8 from the field, 0 for 3 from 3, but he had 4 steals. He was a +8 in the box score. But Wiggins and his shooting, absolutely critical when the Pacers were trying to claw back into the game. Cason Wallace, who I don't think had made a 3 all series, goes 3 of 4 from 3, and also impacts the game in huge ways with 4 steals and a block. To have those guys come off the bench and contribute 25 points on 7 of 11 3-point shooting, that's Thunder basketball too.
Absolutely huge. Yes. And, the series isn't over yet. So, obviously we don't know yet if this Thunder team is going to win a championship. But I got it in the drafts ready to tweet that, if the Thunder are to win a championship with Aaron Wiggins and Cason Wallace, that they did this without Cam Johnson. Like I just go back to when everybody was wanting to make a trade for Cam Johnson, and I get it. I get why. But Aaron Wiggins was like the guy that, in all these scenarios would have been the one that was traded away. And this is now 2 games in the NBA Finals where Aaron Wiggins has come up huge for the team. So it's just cool to see, the Thunder stuck to their guys, and it's paying off. These bench players, Cason and Aaron Wiggins, Kenrich Williams, the role players for the Thunder, obviously SGA, JDub, Chet, Caruso, Dort, those guys have been phenomenal throughout this playoff run. But, to win an NBA Finals, you're going to need some role players to win you a game or two. And throughout this run, we had a Cason Wallace game. I think it was in the Denver series. We had now a few Aaron Wiggins games. We had some stretches where Kenrich Williams played a big role. In that Denver series, Jay Will, he's not even playing in this series, but in the Denver series, he had some critical stretches against Jokic. So it's just really, really kind of fun to see that this team that has this great chemistry, kind of sticking it out and winning together, and are 1 win away from the NBA championship.
Yeah, and speaking of the bench, though, I want to talk about the minutes. This was the first game in the Finals that we didn't see Isaiah Joe. Why do you think that was?
I think it's just because the Pacers have so many scorers, and typically Isaiah will come out, obviously, when the bench units are playing, and the Pacers, like TJ McConnell, he's a ball handler and he can drive, and Isaiah tends to get matched up with him. And I just don't think it's a great matchup when they have so many scorers and ball handlers and shooters off the bench. I think that the Thunder really could obviously use Isaiah's 3-point shooting and his space and his gravity. I still think he's, I still think that Isaiah Joe has a real role on this team going forward, and he's a valuable rotation player for the Thunder, and he's proven that throughout the season. But I think in this particular series, this matchup, just like defensively, the Thunder have no real weaknesses. And I think given, Isaiah's size, I think his effort, his energy, I am impressed with Isaiah's defense, but he would be the one that they target, that the Pacers would target defensively. So I think he's out of the rotation just so the Pacers don't really have somebody to necessarily target on the defensive end.
Well, and the Thunder got a lift in their 3-point shooting not only by Cason and Wiggins, but also by Lou Dort, and in particular in that fourth quarter. So it was a 95-93 game. The Thunder make a push to push it back out to 7, but after 2 Miles Turner free throws, it's a 5-point game. But what happens? Lou Dort hits a 3 to make it an 8-point lead, and the Pacers don't get any closer than that. But then Dort also kind of puts the nail in the coffin with about 4 minutes to go with another 3 to make it 116-101. Dort hit some big shots down the stretch in addition to his great defense.
Yeah, Dort has been really underrated, I think, in this finals run because SGA has been phenomenal. JDub's, like we said earlier, becoming a star right before our eyes. Chet, obviously, the third member of the Big Three, has had some big games, and his defense is louder because of his rim protection, and his rebounding has been huge. Caruso, obviously, off the bench. He's had big scoring games. But Dort, I believe, is shooting over 50% from 3 in this series while locking down the Pacers' offensive engine on the other end. Like, Lou Dort just held Tyrese Halliburton, who's been in top 10 player discussions throughout these NBA playoffs, to 0 made field goals. And he goes 3 of 6 from 3 and hits arguably, the biggest, I won't say the biggest shot, but certainly a huge shot that I think it was the shot that kind of let Thunder fans breathe a little bit easier once he hit that 3 and pushed that lead back up. It didn't feel so nerve-wracking. That nervous energy in the Paycom kind of was relieved a little bit when he hit that shot. So I think Dort has actually been very underrated in these finals.
And now I want to talk about the crowd. I'd asked the question on Sunday's podcast if you thought that the Loud City crowd could take it up a notch from the already incredibly high baseline that they've had in the finals so far. They did, right? Yep. They did. Yeah.
Yeah. I hope I
Talk
said
about
yes.
The atmosphere.
I hope you
did. You did.
Okay. Good. I'm glad I
thought
did.
There was another gear, but talk us through kind of the experience there and what the crowd energy was like, especially right from the tip.
Yeah. I nailed it, apparently, since I said yeah, because they absolutely did. This Thunder crowd, look, I went to Indy for games 3 and 4, and I'm going to try to say this without any sort of shade at all, because that Indy crowd was phenomenal. They were loud. They were passionate. And I think if you compare that Pacers crowd to any other home crowd in the NBA playoffs besides OKC's, you would say that Pacers crowd was the best in the NBA. But Loud City just goes to another level, man. Like, being there for Game 5 last night, after Games 3 and 4, the Thunder crowd really does go to another level. And they were insanely loud when the Thunder clinched the NBA Finals. And they've been insanely loud throughout these NBA Finals. But last night, that atmosphere was it was the loudest NBA game I've ever been to. And, this Thunder team, from that KD, Russ, Harden era to this era, and all those great playoff runs and all those great playoff atmospheres, I think last night was the best one. It was, I think, deafening gets thrown out probably too much at sporting events, but last night I think that word actually made sense to use.
Yeah, and right from the beginning of the game too, you had Mike Breen talking about the atmosphere and just gushing about the crowd because, again, even before the tip, the crowd was in it. They were loud and stayed engaged throughout the game. People were on their feet virtually the entire game. Pretty impressive performance by the Thunder fans in Game 5. Now, try to put on your hat as a fan, or trying to get in the mindset of your regular fan. Would you rather see the Thunder close it out in Game 6, or would you relish the opportunity to win a Game 7 in the finals at home?
Okay, this is a great question. I think this is actually a question probably a lot of Thunder fans are kind of dealing with internally right now, because obviously, if you were guaranteed that the Thunder were to win Game 7, you would choose that 100 times out of 100 because it's in OKC. And the celebration to get to do that in front of your home fans on your home court, that's obviously incredibly special. And, it's just going to be, if it were to happen in Indy instead of OKC, it's just a completely different atmosphere, a completely different feel. Just think about the fact that they clinched the NBA Finals in Game 5 on the home court and how special that was, and all the interviews on the court, and how the crowd went crazy every time, Coach Mark or the players spoke, and how special that felt watching in real time because it was in OKC with the fans. All that said, you got to say, close it out in 6 in Indy. I know the atmosphere won't be as special. It won't be as fun, but they're going to have a parade if they win it in Indy in a few days at the beginning of next week. And the celebration will be incredible and all those things. You just don't want a one-game sample size. You don't want to risk a Game 7 with a Pacers team that can shoot the lights out any given night, like the shooting variance of what could happen in a Game 7. Even though the Thunder would obviously be favored because they would be at home with an insanely loud crowd, and they are the better team. But one-game sample size, too risky. So my answer is close it out at Indy. Bummer it's on their home court, but just go and win the title, win the championship. Don't mess around with trying to come back and win it at home.
Do you think that that's the mindset of the team? Are they fully locked in and treating this Game 6 as like a must-win situation?
100%. Yeah, 100%. They just want to win the title. And, there's obviously there's a lot of talk about how the team that's behind, the team that's going to be closed out, is going to play desperate. And that is 100% true. That team is going to fight as hard as they can not to go home. But there's really not much talk about the fact that the team that is one win away from an NBA championship, like the motivation that's got to come with that, like knowing you're so close, like being able to taste it and just go out and take it. So I think both teams have that mindset that this is a must-win Game 6.
All right. Well, now let's get into the Game 6 specifically. Again, the series has mimicked very closely the series against Denver, including in the Game 5 win for the Thunder. In Game 6, though, on the road, an opportunity to close it out, the Thunder got handled by the Nuggets. Now, another comparison that I've seen thrown around is the 2022 NBA Finals between the Celtics and the Warriors, where the Celtics stole Game 1 on the road. Warriors took back control in Game 2 with an impressive win. Then Boston won Game 3 at home. Warriors won Game 4 on the road. Warriors won Game 5 at home, and then closed out the Celtics on the road. So, do you see this more as a Denver Nuggets scenario or a Celtics-Warrior scenario?
And hopefully it's more of a Celtics-Warrior scenario. I think it's hard to say. I mean, that Indy team is tough to beat at home. And, they famously hadn't lost 2 games in a row since, what was it, March, I believe it was? It'd been like 100 days or something like that. So it's hard to beat them back-to-back. So now you have to beat them 3 times in a row. But that said, I do think that the Thunder are the better team. I think the Thunder are going to come in motivated to try to win this ring. So, I mean, if I had to say, I'll say this. If the Thunder win the championship, I want to be in the building. And so I'm going to Indy for Game 6 because I think there's a good chance that they close it out in Indy. And a part of me, look, that Nuggets series, this has mirrored the Nuggets series exactly as far as wins and losses go so far. So obviously, we could see the same type of thing. But I don't know, maybe it's just the recency bias of seeing the Thunder clutch out that Game 4 and then win Game 5 back to back. But it feels like the Thunder do have the momentum, and they've kind of figured something out offensively. It feels like in Game 5, and yes, energy of the home crowd, absolutely. But if they can carry over the offense to Game 6 to Indy, I like their chances to win because I know what the defense is going to do.
Well, the Thunder are favored. They're a minus 4.5 favorite to win in Indiana in Game 6. But as you noted, the Pacers hadn't lost 2 in a row all playoffs until these last 2 games. And I think, at least from my opinion, you kind of look at the Pacers and the way that they've gotten to the finals, sort of proving all the doubters wrong as almost a team of destiny. But on the other hand, you can say the same thing about the Thunder, all the adversity the team overcame in the regular season with injuries, with Chet being out for 50-something games, to have Shea kind of win the MVP, the way that they came back and won that Nuggets series despite being down 1-0 and then 2-1, that the Thunder kind of have that look as a team of destiny. So it'll be really interesting to see how this one shakes out. I really obviously would like to see the Thunder win in 6 because I don't want that coin flip Game 7 type scenario. But at the same time, the Thunder have 2 chances to win 1 game, and no one is betting against the Thunder at home in a Game 7 in front of that crowd. And I would imagine, as loud as the fans were in Game 5, maybe there's another level for Game 7, and that, of course, that Nuggets Game 7 was just an incredible watch. So this one, to me, feels like a 7-game series that the Pacers are not going to go quietly. They might put together their best performance of the series at home in a must-win scenario, and we might be looking, at least in my opinion, at a Game 7 on Sunday.
Yeah, this Pacers team is not going to roll over. Like you said, they've obviously been so good this entire playoff run. And, this is a team, much like the Thunder, that will not give up. They will continue fighting. Yes, their backs are against the wall being down 3-2, but especially at home with having that crowd. Because in their mind, it's like, hey, just take care of home court, and then you got a 1-game sample size that, could be a coin flip where anything can happen. So while the Thunder are obviously in control now in this series, and it feels really, really good for the Thunder, I'm sure the Pacers are going to have the mindset of, hey, just take care of Game 6 at home, and then anything can happen. So, but yeah, I mean, if there is a Game 7, obviously there's 2 things there. Incredibly nerve-wracking for Thunder fans, but also, man, what an atmosphere Game 7 NBA Finals in Oklahoma City would be. Hopefully we don't see that, but if we do, that would be a special environment.
Yeah, exactly. It's quite a predicament, because watching the Thunder close out, win a championship in front of the home crowd would be incredible to see. But honestly, I think every fan would agree, we just want to see the Thunder win the title.
100%. Like that's the thing. Just win the title. Would it be a bummer for it to be on the road and not in Oklahoma City when it happens? For sure. But you don't worry about that. All you worry about is winning that title. And if you have a title, like, obviously, there's been dynasty talk. There's been talk about how this team is set up better than any team in the NBA and how this could be a potential dynasty. Obviously, all those things are great. But you don't think about those things. You just get that one title. That one title would mean so much to the city, to the state, to this fan base, to this organization, to these players, for their legacies, all of the above, to win that title. So go out and take it in Indiana if you can. And then, we could be talking about one of the special seasons of all time when you look at the youth of this team, when you look at the season that Shai Gilgeous-Alexander has had, when you look at the rebuild and how this was supposedly the black eye of the league just a few years ago. When you look at all those things, this could end up being an incredibly special season that not only Thunder fans but NBA fans talk about for a very long time.
And if anything, if the Thunder close this out on the road in Game 6, at least we'll know that Daily Thunder beat writer Brandon Rahbar will be there in person to watch it.
Yeah, man, I'm excited. I'm excited about going. I had a really good time in Indianapolis. I got to say, Indy fans, very classy to me, and I've enjoyed Indy as a town, and I will enjoy it even more if the Thunder were to win a championship there. By the way, breaking news as we're doing this. Have you seen this, John?
I don't know. Fill me in.
Shams just reported that Tyrese Halliburton is believed to suffer a strained right calf and will undergo an MRI to determine the severity of the strain. So I guess he would be officially probably questionable for Game 6. You got to believe if he has any chance whatsoever to play, he's going to play, though.
Yeah, that's right. I guess it'll be a story to follow. But as he said post-game, if he can walk, he's going to play. And I would imagine that's exactly how it'll be handled for him, because this is a do-or-die situation for the Pacers. And if he can be out there, he'll be out there.
100%. 100%. And honestly, you want to see him play. You want to see both teams fully healthy and have all the best players out there. So hopefully Tyrese will be able to play in Game 6, because this has been, by the way, I don't know if we talked about this. This has been such a fun, exciting, entertaining series. For all the talk coming into this finals about two small markets, not the huge superstar names and the draws and what are the ratings going to be like that. All that junk that was talked, this has been one of the most entertaining NBA finals of recent times. This has been so much fun.
Agree. And I think most neutral observers are saying the same, that this has been an incredible finals. And so, again, to the casuals who aren't watching this, you're missing out. But we've all been watching, so we get the benefit of an incredible NBA finals that I hope ends in Indiana in Game 6. So, well, that's all the time we have for today. Thanks for tuning in to the Daily Thunder podcast. I'm John Napier, host of the podcast, and he's Brandon Rahbar, Daily Thunder beat writer. If you enjoyed the show, make sure to subscribe to the Daily Thunder podcast on your favorite podcast app so you don't miss any future episode, including the episodes that we may have should the Thunder win an NBA title. And if you like what you hear, do us a favor and leave us a rating and review wherever you get your podcast. And we'll be back in your feed soon.